Okay, so when I say the word creatine, what's the first thing that pops into your head? I'm guessing it's something to do with the gym, right? Building muscle, getting stronger, pure physical performance. And you're not wrong, but that's really only half the story. Today, we're diving into the much lesser known and honestly fascinating role that creatine plays inside your brain.
Because what if I told you its real superpower isn't for your biceps, but for your neurons? See, the evidence is really starting to pile up that this simple, well-known supplement might be one of the best tools we have for boosting our brain power, especially when we're stressed out and tired. So how on earth does it work?
Well, it all boils down to one thing: energy. Your brain is an absolute energy hog. It's incredibly demanding. And creatine basically acts like its own personal, high-speed charging pack. To really get that, we first need to talk about the fuel itself.
Meet ATP. You can think of ATP as the direct usable battery power for all your brain cells. Every single thought you have, every memory you pull up, every tough decision you make, it's all powered by these tiny little batteries. And when they start to run low, well, that's when you feel that brain fog kick in. And this is exactly where creatine steps in to save the day.
And what's so incredible is just how elegant and fast this system is. So you're working on a hard problem, you're really thinking, and your brain is just burning through that ATP. Right at that moment, creatine, which is stored in your brain as phosphocreatine, literally swoops in, donates a piece of itself, and bam, that ATP battery is instantly recharged. It's a rapid recharge system that keeps your mind sharp right when the pressure is on.
And here's the really clever part. Your body is smart. It doesn't just sprinkle creatine around randomly. No, it stockpiles it in the parts of your brain that need the most juice. We're talking about places like the cortex, where all your complex thinking and processing happens, and the hippocampus, which is the absolute cornerstone of making new memories. So, creatine is pre-positioned exactly where it can do the most cognitive good.
But wait, the story doesn't even stop there with energy. In fact, scientists are now figuring out that creatine has this whole other, surprising second job. It's not just the fuel, it turns out it's also a direct player in how your brain cells talk to each other.
This is a total game changer. It means creatine can act kind of like a neurotransmitter, one of those chemical messengers, to directly help regulate and even improve the signals flying between your neurons. Just think about that for a second. It's not just giving the brain more power, it's helping the brain use that power more efficiently.
And this isn't just some vague idea. We see it has specific, measurable effects. It actually strengthens the connections between neurons, it helps fire up the cells in your memory centers, and it even acts like a bodyguard, protecting your brain from certain kinds of damage that can happen when it's overstimulated or under stress.
Okay, so the theory is solid, right? It makes sense. But does it actually work in the real world? What does the data say about creatine actually helping our memory? Let's take a look.
So you see this number here, 0.31. This comes from a huge meta-analysis where researchers basically combined the results of a whole bunch of different studies. It represents what's called the effect size of creatine on memory. But what on earth does a number like 0.31 actually mean for us?
Well, it means this isn't some miracle substance that's going to give you a photographic memory overnight. Let's be real. The effect is described as small to moderate. But, and this is the really important part, it's statistically significant. It is a consistent and very real effect. It's a genuine, measurable nudge in the right direction.
And this is where it gets really compelling. That benefit isn't just a flat line. It shines the brightest when your brain is stressed out. Just look at this chart. It shows what happens when people are sleep deprived. The group taking a placebo, their performance tanks. But the group taking creatine is able to maintain a much higher level of brain function. It acts like a buffer against that mental fatigue. This is where that backup generator idea really comes to life.
All right, so the evidence is pretty promising, especially for those high-stress situations, which naturally leads to the big question. Should you be thinking about this? Let's break down who really stands to benefit the most.
So who is going to feel the biggest effect? Well, here's the thing. It's probably not everyone. If you're young, healthy, eating a diet rich in meat, and getting plenty of sleep, your brain is already pretty topped up. You might not notice a huge difference. But for people like vegetarians or the elderly, who naturally have lower creatine levels to begin with, the benefit can be much more obvious. And like we just saw, it's a real powerhouse during those times you're sleep deprived, under intense mental pressure, or just plain stressed out.
So if you do fall into one of those groups and you're curious, here are the nuts and bolts. The standard dose is super simple, just 3 to 5 grams a day. Now, here's a key difference from muscle. It takes a few weeks of taking it every day to really build up the levels in your brain, so you have to be patient. It's widely considered to be very safe for healthy adults. But, and this is crucial, it's not a magic pill. It's a tool to be used with other healthy habits, not to replace them.
You know, I think this quote just perfectly captures the whole idea. It's not really about making a perfectly running brain run even better. It's more like an insurance policy for your brain's energy supply. An insurance policy that pays out exactly when you need it most. When you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're pushing your mind to its absolute limit.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. We live in a world that is constantly demanding more and more from our brains, constantly trying to drain our mental batteries. So if there was a simple, safe, and effective way to ensure your brain's performance against all that stress, well, wouldn't you take it?